Hello,
Hi, Lou.
this is it.
Hi, Lou. It's Andy Patterson from Boxing Asylum. We've got a scheduled interview.
Okay, Andy.
you-
Could you hear me even with the music in the background?
Yeah, we can hear you fine, mate. Yeah, how you doing anyway?
No, I'm just at a place that's playing some music, so I can't turn the music off. But if
All right,
if you
no
can
problem.
hear me, I'll walk outside.
That's okay. No, we weren't getting any feedback off you. I believe you spoke to my colleague Tommy about obviously the big fight's been announced, Pacquiao Mayweather. In all honesty, us guys weren't really wanting to talk about it because it's been like 6 years of talk and broken promises. We now seem to be getting the fight. Give me your take on basically the fight getting signed finally.
I expected it to get signed this time because everyone involved was best served by it happening now. I don't think the fight's any smaller now than it would have been 6 years ago. I think Mayweather's 39 and Pacquiao's 38. They're both were 6 years younger, and now they're 6 years older. But finally, the Super Bowl is happening. The World Cup final of boxing is happening. I think it's good for the sport. Anyone who thinks it isn't is a fucking moron.
Well, there's one of my colleagues here, Kyle's not really want to talk about it. I think I just think as well as that the fans have been kind of let down and stuff. But obviously the fans are going to be looking forward to it. Me myself though, I'm not.
First of all, I don't believe the fans have been let down. Second of all, I believe the boxing fans, at least in the United States, are somewhat irrelevant to the whole market. There's not a lot of hardcore boxing fans. Pacquiao's last pay-per-view did 300,000 homes. The key with Mayweather-Pacquiao is its ability to sell to regular sports fans, to the fans that are watching soccer and baseball and American football. Those are the people we're selling to. And to those people, every single one of them is interested in this fight. Everyone I know, knowing my role in boxing, everyone I know, people that never watch boxing, have been contacting me about this fight. So, the whole key with this fight is going to be a way to reach out and bring in more fans, to bring in younger fans, to bring in new fans. That's the key of this fight. And frankly, it's also well timed with all the new networks that are getting involved in boxing in the States.
That's true.
And Lou, if you don't mind my asking, how do you feel about that? I mean, obviously, I think a lot of promoters like yourself, Top Rank, all the main events, all these other promoters. What do you think about the fact that basically Heyman is now giving away his content for free and sort of changing the entire market landscape? I'd have to think, honestly, with the view to driving out his competition. What do you view?
No, I don't think. I got to be honest with you. I don't think that's his view. I mean, first of all, I'll start by saying the guy's my friend, Heyman, and I'll continue by saying he's one of the smartest guys in the business, and then I'll continue by saying boxing's in a motherfucking shitter, and all of the little nerds out there that think it's not, who tweet out there and follow everything that goes on through their computers, should realize that the absence of boxing on free TV and its movement to pay television and pay-per-view was not good for the sport, and that the sport has not been growing. It's been constricting and contracting, that it's not even, if you go on Yahoo or ESPN, listed with the major sports. You have to go into a side menu to get it. And that right now the best hope for the sport is to reinvent itself, through the mass media to the general public who right now is watching it. And, I'll preface this by saying, I have a really good relationship with Alan. We've been friends for a long time, and I'm obviously going to be promoting shows with him. So that may put me in somewhat a better position than some of my other competitors. But that being said, he's not pushing HBO out of the business. He's not pushing Showtime out of the business. He's not pushing anybody else out of the business. And if the business was doing so well, the networks would be paying for it. The fact that he's had to raise a big war chest and buy time is an indication that advertisers aren't buying boxing. The problem is there are too many people out there who are now able to make opinions because there's nobody policing who writes about boxing, who talks about it. It's a free world, that's fine. But there are a lot of morons who don't get it. And if you got it, you'd understand that the reason why networks want people to buy the time is because they're not able to sell time themselves. If they were, sports rights are through the roof. Boxing rights are cheap as hell. So these networks haven't been buying it because even with the rights as cheap as hell, they haven't been able to profit on it. If they were able to profit on it, they would have been paying for it before Al Heyman and the organization and the business he created began buying time.
I mean, I'm not saying, Lou, that it's not good for the sport. I think the return of boxing to network television is fantastic. for the sport. My thing is,
I don't see it. It's not. I don't see how in any way, shape, or form it would push HBO or Showtime out of the sport. Frankly, if I was running HBO, I'd view it as an opportunity, because what I would be doing is saying, okay, I'm going to get the best product in the world, because you can't have everything. I would get the best product in the world available to me and run with it. And I think an environment in which Mayweather-Pacquiao is happening, an environment with boxing is returning to network television and networks that never televised it before, is a better environment for boxing than the one we've had for the last decade.
Do you think that HBO needs to bring Heyman back into the fold and decide to work with him and sort of have?
I think HBO needs to do whatever the fuck they want to do. I don't think HBO needs to do anything. I think they need to be smart and maybe have people running into that passion and regain the passion they once had for the sport. I think that HBO will be just fine. I mean, they have some stars. Golovkin's terrific. I mean, I enjoy watching Golovkin. I think they got to figure out a way to develop stars and build their own talent. I mean, Showtime's had Showbox, and I've thought for a long time that HBO should have its version of Showbox. To have its own platform to build its own fighters. But that being said, I mean, I don't think HBO needs to do anything. I mean, they doesn't matter if need. If they want, they'll do what they want to do.
Lou, can I ask, have you heard
I don't mean to sound shippy, but I've been around a long time. I've been in this business 26 years now, and I know it pretty well.
Lou, can I ask, is there any truth in the rumours that I heard about ESPN potentially cancelling Friday night fights? Is that correct? I've
heard the same stuff that you've heard, that they'll stop the Friday night fight series around Memorial Day at the end of May. That's what I've heard. But I mean, it probably makes some sense, because I don't think that they're making a lot of money selling advertising either on those fight cards. So when an ESPN watches a load of other networks start getting programming through time buys, they probably say we should join those networks. I mean, I think, don't you prefer to get paid as opposed to paying?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. So do they. So does ESPN.
Just moving off that just now, as we've heard some reports that Sergio Martinez is he's doing a lot of rehab just now. Some people would probably say that maybe his best option would be to retire now. What is the latest with Sergio Martinez? Would you prefer to see him retire, or maybe have one farewell fight?
What I prefer to see him do and what he does, or what I prefer to see him do is largely irrelevant. I respect him as a man, and he's going to make the right decision for himself. I mean, I know him well enough to know the reason he hasn't announced anything yet is unless he knows he's physically able to fight, he's not going to. If he makes that determination, and Samson and I, see that he's in solid, physical shape, then I could see him having a comeback fight. And as to whether or not that would be his last fight, my sense would be that he probably would leave his option open. I'm sure there's a part of Sergio that doesn't want to go out the way he did. So maybe it would just be a one and done, have one fight against somebody that's not a world beater, but that's somewhat credible, and see if you can perform well enough to continue. And then if he performs well enough in that fight, maybe he takes one fight. I don't see any long campaign for Sergio Martinez. I'm not sure that he is going to come back. I don't think he's sure he's going to come back until he knows he's completely physically sound. And if he did come back, I don't think you would ever see a Golovkin fight or any or that type of fight. I don't think that will ever happen.
Well, I mean, I think quite obviously the Golovkin thing is no longer of great interest to people because of.
Well, it shouldn't be. Why let's not even talk about it. I'm just making the point.
What do you think about a Cotto rematch? I mean, was it simply?
Why?
Just...
For what reason?
Well,
no, I don't see that as a. Going to what your partner just said, I don't think there'd be much of a market for it.
No, I mean, I'm a big fan of Sergio. It's obviously the Golovkin
No,
fight.
so am I, but honestly, I have to go on that one. I think your partner just answered that question you raised. Because that particular fight, the way it went, I don't think that there would be a market for it.
Fair enough.
Sorry, Lou. Andy Lee recently obviously grabbed a portion of the middleweight crown. Are you happy to see him finally get his chance to kind of grab the title?
Yeah, I'm thrilled, and I think we did a great job helping him get there. But he did a great job, with some dramatic wins in his last few fights. Andy's earned it, Andy's a great guy. He's really come into his own as a one-shot knockout artist when he needs that punch. He's one of the best guys I've worked with as a person, and I'm thrilled that he's going to be fighting in a very, very big fight in Brooklyn on April 11th at the Barclays Center against Peter Quillen. That's a big fight.
Lou, if and I know that there's some ifs involved here, but if he were able to do his business as the next fight, and Billy Joe Saunders were able to do the same, is the view to possibly make an Irish super fight over there?
Yeah, it's possible, but as your reporter may know better than you, ticket pricing and the ability to generate money right now in Ireland is very different than it is here. And my advice to any fighter, particularly one in his 30s that's campaigned for a long time, that has a family or starting a family, is it's all about the money. I think it's certainly possible. I think it's certainly possible, but I don't think Billy Joe Saunders is a star. But if in order to maintain his championship, the winner of that fight is going to have to fight Billy Joe Saunders, and that's fair, and that's the rules, and that's the deal we made. So Billy Joe Saunders is next in line for that title shot.
Kyle, I believe you wanted a question, mate.
Yeah, Lou, you're probably going to be asked this about a million times, but just to go back to what we talked about earlier, who do you think will win out of Pacquiao and Mayweather, or do you want to hold your cards close to your chest?
No, I've said the same thing for 7 years, so I'm not going to hold anything close to my chest. I don't see Manny Pacquiao beating Mayweather. I don't. And if Mayweather wants to make it easy, I think he can make it easy. If he wants to make it exciting, then he gives Pacquiao more of a shot. But I think that Mayweather is the better fighter, the more skilled fighter, and has more left in the tank right now.
Thank you.
Lou, obviously, Jermaine Taylor, he's been stripped of his IBF title. It looks like Hassan Ndam's going to be fighting for that one. Give me a take on the recent happenings with Jermaine Taylor. I mean, what is the current situation? Is he still under observation or whatever it is? Is he still getting looked at by doctors or whatever?
He was. He's been under observation. I think he was released from the facility. But, obviously Jermaine has a lot of issues and problems he has to work out. And like I've said many times, I'm not even considering a boxing question or anything involving Jermaine. It's really, he's got to get his life together, and he's got legal issues he has to deal with. And I don't believe that I'll ever be promoting another Jermaine Taylor fight. Right now, my concern as a human being, as a friend, that I want to see him get his life together. He's going to have to deal with legal consequences of some of his actions, and hopefully that'll turn out well for him, and hopefully he'll be able to get his life back in order.
The other thing as well, you still looking after Jojo Dan, yeah?
Yeah, he'll be fighting...
Kell Brook.
Kell Brook, that's a very tough fight, but I think that Jojo's a tough guy, and I think he's going to give Kell Brook a real good run.
I was just going to ask, actually, I mean, did you think maybe Jojo Dan's going to be getting him at the right time after coming off that terrible slashing? I'm sorry? I said, well...
I think Jojo Dan's getting him at the right time.
Yeah.
So... I think that this to the extent to which JoJo's got a good shot to win, I think this makes that shot a little bit better. Obviously, when you fight Kell Brook on Kell Brook's home turf, that's a very difficult fight.
Lou, I'm just curious. I mean, I know that obviously, as we just said, the fight is well past its expiration date, but with the Golovkin, for a while when we were talking about Golovkin, Sergio. I'm going to assume you had talks with Tom Loeffler and stuff. What kind of
I never had talks. I never had talks with him really in any serious manner.
Okay.
And by the way, I maintained that the fight would have happened 5 years ago. I still would have liked my fighter's chances, but I think Golovkin's a great fighter, and I think right now I said this, and actually I said this before the Cotto fight, well before the Cotto fight, and I did not. By the way, all the morons who think that I was aware of some leg injury are fucking idiots, because we never really sent Sergio into the ring knowing he was damaged goods, but I can tell you that I don't think he had the best medical care or the best doctors in Spain, and I think a lot of what we believed about his physical soundness was more his optimism than it was medical reality, and I think he had doctors that were pumping smoke up his rear end. But on the Golovkin, certain times guys just don't intersect, and even before the Cotto fight, you have a guy on the who's approaching 40. Who, as skilled as he is, and I did think he beat Martin Murray in Argentina because Murray blew the last 2 rounds. I did think, and he wasn't 100% for that fight. He hasn't been 100% for years. But he beat Chavez, soundly. I think he was a great fighter. But Golovkin was coming into his young prime. I mean, literally prime of his career, and Sergio was already on the other side of his career. And that fight, the timing just didn't work.
Well, of course, but what I was going to say was basically if you were managing Golovkin's career right now, I mean, what would you do to get him a big fight? Because we just see him blasting these guys.
It's largely partially up to HBO. Because to be honest with you, they have Andre Ward. I don't give a fuck about most. I don't think there's a 68 matchup for Andre Ward I give a shit about. Do you? So maybe say to Andre, and I would sit down with Golovkin and say, you're the same fighter at 68 or 66 as you are at 60. He's not going to be a worse fighter. I'd love to see Golovkin fight Andre Ward. HBO can make that happen. Just have the backbone to push him. That's the fight I'd like to see.
Well, I mean, of course, but I mean, I'm going to assume Ward probably wants to take a tune-up first and get back in form.
Okay, well, Ward could take the tune-up, but I don't want to see. Here's what I don't want to see. There's still guys out there that are talented. I don't want to see a guy with no chance. Murray was a fine opponent, and Golovkin handled it like the champ he is and did what he was supposed to do. Murray was brave. He didn't have enough punching power. I mean, if Murray could punch, Murray would have really been in that fight, but he can't. But I don't want to see a Golovkin in a 20-1 fight where there are better guys out there. But as long as he's fighting the best available guy, I got no problem with that. He's doing what he's supposed to do. And then the big fight, I do believe the big fight down the road would be a Ward. I think that's the biggest fight down the road.
What about Canelo and Golovkin?
I hate that fight for Canelo, but I mean for the fans, I like the fight. But that'd be one good way to end a young career. I mean, if I had Canelo, I wouldn't let him near that fucking fight. I'd be a fucking moron if he managed Canelo to let that fight happen. Got zero chance to get his ass whooped all over the fucking ring, worse than Mayweather did it. It's a bad matchup, much bigger, Golovkin, the bigger, stronger guy. No need for that fight if you have a young kid like Canelo. That's the kind of thing that, the fight with Mayweather. Mayweather's not a puncher, not someone that's going to do permanent damage, not a guy that's going to so fuck your psyche up that you're never the same fighter. Even though I thought Mayweather spanked him and embarrassed him, he didn't hurt him. Golovkin would hurt him, and that's just. If I had Canelo, I'd never do that. Never do that.
Lou, just before we let you go, I mean, obviously Miguel Cotto.
If Canelo was 32 or 34, maybe you do it. Now when the kid's 24, 25 years old, you don't do it.
Absolutely.
Lou, just before we let you go, Miguel Cotto is now standing on the sidelines. He's seen Pacquiao Mayweather sign up to fight each other. The Canelo fights doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon. If you were managing them, who would you be looking at to get him in the ring with next? I mean, they're talking Rios, Bradley. Neither of those fights that I want to see. Who do you want to see Cotto win with?
Cotto? I mean, I'd like to see Cotto win with Canelo as a fan, but it's not happening. But that's the fight I'd like to see. But apparently it's not happening. I don't want to see Rios in with Cotto. That's a mismatch.
Can you see him?
What about?
Sorry, I was going to say, can you see him beating any other
Cotto eats
true
up.
middleweights?
I like Brandon. Brandon's a fun fighter. Keep him fighting fights that he's competitive in. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't. Cotto's too big and strong for Rios.
So if it was down to Bradley or Khan, both of which have been talked about, what would you like to see?
For who?
For Cotto. Cotto is apparently the three names.
Cotto and Tim Bradley? I'll be honest with you, neither of those fights interest me. Khan's a fucking welterweight, for Christ's sake. I mean, come on. You want to see that? I don't want to see that. Tim Bradley against Cotto?
I mean, those are the two names that have been thrown out there. I mean, I think we'd all...
Good. Well, then if they think that they can get a big audience and make money with it, God bless. I don't think those are pay-per-view fights. I don't know a lot of people are going to pay for that.
The thing is that
you guys have a radio show. Like, you think either of those fights is competitive?
I'm really interested in either of those fights, to be honest with me. I want to see Cotto win with a legit middleweight. That's who I want to see Cotto win with.
Well, of course. I don't want to see him with a welterweight. You can move up 2 weight classes and expect people to buy that? Come on.
But on that point, who do you think Cotto could beat at the
break? Look, I didn't want to answer the question. I want to hear your answer. You think either one of those guys has a chance against Miguel Cotto?
Rios or Bradley? Definitely not. Not up at 155, 156, or whatever it is. I mean, if you look at Rios against Alvarado, although Alvarado had his own problems, I felt that was the greatest condition I've seen Rios in at 147, and if
Yeah, but
Rios should
Alvarado
stay at
wasn't
147.
Alvarado wasn't even there.
Yeah, that's true.
There. And what
That
weight
is
did
true.
they fight that fight at?
147.
Okay, why am I hearing 147s for the middleweight champion of the world? You guys all hate catchweights. All you guys on the internet and blogs or whatever, you make big stinks when they're a catchweight. Why am I hearing a 147-pounder discussed for the middleweight champion of the world?
Well, I mean, because Cotto isn't really a middleweight.
Personally, I'd rather see a hard-working kid like a Toriano Johnson, even though he's a legitimate middleweight.
Great fight.
I'd rather see Sergio Mora. He'll give Cotto a better fight than any of the three guys you named. I mean, that's self-serving. I promote him, but if you're going to put him in with a boxer anyway, put him in with one his own size.
But will Cotto fight these guys? I mean, Cotto seems to only be interested in the big money fights at the moment.
Well, you really believe Amir Khan is a big money fight, or that Tim Bradley is a big money fight?
Bigger than Sergio Mora and Toreno Johnson.
They're all HBO fights. None of those are pay-per-view fights. The public's not stupid. You guys aren't stupid. If they announce Tim Bradley, you're not going to say he's way too small and he's a boxer. How the fuck's he going to be Cotto? Okay. I don't know. I have no interest in that fight, and I'm not being a hater. I just want to see him, middleweight champion, defend your middleweight belt.
I absolutely agree about.
If there was a really terrific 54-pounder, then go ahead. Then go ahead and do that. I mean, if it's a terrific 54-pounder, make the fight.
Obviously, the fight.
Yeah, I think Andrade would be a great fight, but again, I mean, these guys are all high risk, low reward.
I'd rather see Andrade. He's more of his own size. It's more of and he's young and fresh. So I'd rather see that. I don't think it's big, but I don't think the other ones are big either. I just. By the way, and here, it's funny. I hear all the criticism lodged at certain people that it seems a lot of press these days have issues with, and then you're talking about a guy like Cotto, and every name you launched at me was a welterweight. That doesn't bother you?
It does,
of course it does.
But in the day, there's Lewis. Who is he going to fight? I mean, we all want to see him either fight Canelo. He's not going to fight Canelo. I mean, he's not a middleweight. We all know he's not a middleweight. At the very best, he is a blown-up welterweight. So who at middleweight is going to fight him, or is he actually going to fight?
All right, but I don't even want to hear the name of a guy 2 weight classes lower. I don't want to hear it. You want to throw at me a 54-pounder and make the fight at 57? I'm okay with that if there's the right 54-pounder. I don't even know right now who is the best 54-pounder available to the HBO side of the table. But I would rather see. I'll give you examples of fighters. I'd rather see a Lara against Cotto. I'd rather see. I mean, again, he's a boxer and he's not the most scintillating style, but he's size-wise, it's an appropriate fight, and he can box his ass off. Sometimes he moves a little too much for my taste, but I'd rather see that. It's more of a competitive fight.
Well, the fight we all want to see is Cotto versus Golovkin, but surely Golovkin absolutely
I don't
destroys
believe
him.
that. I think the Golovkin knocks him through a wall. But you know what? I'd like to see it. I think Cotto showed a lot of strength at 60, even though obviously Sergio wasn't Sergio. But I think that that was the strongest Cotto I've ever seen in his career. So I mean, Cotto, and I'd pay to see Cotto and Golovkin. Yeah, I would. I think you would too, and I think the fans would. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Cotto wants any part of that animal. That's what I think.
No way.
Agree 100%.
Lou, it looks like you've got a lot of situations going in the background. We'll let you get going at this time, mate, but appreciate your time.
Good talking to you, and I think this is going to be an interesting year for boxing. So, boxing fans, hang in there because it's going to be a fun ride this year, and I think that hopefully in 12 months from now there'll be more people listening to your show.
Good stuff, mate. Thanks a lot for that.
Thanks for coming, Lou.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.